Yeah, we always begin with this particular question, right? So both of you have been in an unrelated job completely. It's not e-commerce that you are doing. You had been in recruitment and banking, and you had been in banking as well, right?
Yes.
Yes, banking, yeah. So completely unrelated job, but then you decided sometime to go into e-commerce. Why is that?
Um, so I decided to move because I purely believed that there was a lot more for me. I believed that there was a lot more that I could do for myself. When I was working for other people, there was a ceiling. Um, and I was doing really well within the field that I was actually in. And I was looking at director positions and then looking at COO positions after that for very, very small companies. Um, but even then, there's still a ceiling on how much money you can earn, and I believe that there's a lot more that I could learn just doing it myself. And that's the whole reason I decided to go e-com. And part of the reason that I was doing e-com to begin with is to create enough cash so I can actually move into a bigger dream that I have, which is property. So yeah.
Yourself, Daniela?
Yeah, I will just
Just
hold it like this.
Just hold it, yeah.
Yeah, so my story is slightly different. I started selling on Amazon about a year and a half, and I decided to do this after finishing a fixed-term contract in a company. I was not very happy with the role, so I said, why not trying something that I can do myself. I was also unhappy about the program. I have my son who was really unhappy about, the nannies and childcare I had at that time. So it seemed like this is the best solution to start something and just work from home. So doing something online was the best way to do it.
Right. So it's a lifestyle choice that you did.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. And yourself, it's an ambitious choice that you made to reach to the goals that you had.
Oh, it was also the fact that I didn't have control of my time.
Yeah.
I hate other people having control of anything of mine. I really hate it, like my time being wasted, especially if I'm going to waste my time, it's got to be me who wastes my time and nobody else. So that's one of the reasons. There was loads of scenarios where I wanted to take 3 or 4 weeks of holiday, and there were so many approvals that I had to go through to get even 3 weeks worth of holiday, and then all the politics that come along with that. And then also at the same time, if I'm sick, I just want to be sick. I want to go. I want to go to my mom's house and have her Indian tea, and that's all I want to do. So it's just I don't want to call up anyone and explain or feel guilty about being at home and trying to get myself better. So that was another reason. They all kind of added up to one big thing, yeah.
Nice. I could quite relate to that. My wife is here as a proof. Where is she? Yeah. Sharanya is there. I keep telling her, freedom is the ultimate luxury more than anything else.
Ah, yeah.
Yeah. Nice. I can relate to both of these stories. Thank you so much. Daniela, a question for you.
Yes.
So, what do you prefer? So you are in a full-time job, and you go there to work with people, to see different people in there. You socialize with them. But now you are at home. You're not looking anyone else. What do you prefer? No, the lifestyle is completely different. This has something. That has something. But what brings you joy in being an e-commerce entrepreneur?
It is. And now having both experiences. I've worked for about 15 years before in a corporate environment. Okay, so I said that I worked for 15 years in a corporate environment, and now having this short experience of working as an entrepreneur, I can say it would be really difficult for me to go back to that 9 to 5 lifestyle and program. It's true. It's not the same thing. Okay, you go to the office, you meet so many people, you have meetings, you have calls, I don't know. But working as an entrepreneur, you get to meet other people you can relate more with them, you have more shared interests, you meet people you can have business with, you meet people that can be your partners. It's different and it's much more fulfilling. One, from the perspective of the time, you can organize your time and you can work in your own pace. Obviously, if you want to reach some goals, you have to be really organized to do that. But I can't say I've been missing the office environment so far because I've been so busy that I can't say I lack the time I spent in meetings which don't end up anywhere, and you will discuss the same thing next week. And even if you have a proposal, if you want to change something, it will still take months and months of, exactly like you said, approvals and discussions. And it's much more fulfilling because if you want to implement something, if you want to do something, if you need to find a solution, it depends only on you, and that's it. You don't have to explain to anybody. You don't have to take approvals. You just have to do it and find solutions. So it's much more fulfilling from that perspective.
That's brilliant. Nice. Right. And you had an interesting start, right?
Yeah.
It's a very interesting story how you started it all. So would you be able to share that?
Yeah. So I love. Can I just get a gist of kind of what type of people are here? Who's launched a product on? Who's got a product? At least one product launched on Amazon. Who's thinking about it? Hasn't launched anything yet. Okay, cool. So my story, I don't know how many people can relate in some shape or form. So my story, I love traveling. And I was in Bangkok. I was coming back from a 3-week holiday that I managed to get approved after like 5 months. I booked it 7 months in advance or something stupid like that. Anyway, so I was on the way back. I was in Bangkok in the airport. And I was basically waiting for my flight. It was about a 6-hour wait or something like that. I was floating around the airport, had nothing to do. And I'm not a big reader at all. I hate reading. I don't pick up books. I never read. I've probably read like 2 books in my life. And those are probably mandatory books from English literature at school. But I picked up this book that said, retire by 40. I don't know why. I thought it was a gimmick book. I thought it was trying to sell me something. I was like, oh, this is just going to be one of those stupid books that's going to say how you can quickly retire early and it's a quick fix to life or whatever it is. I picked it up and flicked through it. I read a couple of pages here and there, and I thought, oh, that makes sense. This passive income thing kind of makes sense. I kind of already knew that, but never really put it together in my head. I know it in the sense of property because my dad's done a lot of property in the past. And they talked about more things and other things and lifestyle and time. And I was like, oh, yeah, that makes a lot of sense because I've thought about that a lot. But he put it together in this specific way. And then I couldn't put the book down for some reason. Now, you could call it fate, the universe, God, whatever you want to call it. But I just physically couldn't put the book down. So I had to go and buy it. When I looked at the price, it was like $15 or something. So I'm not paying $15 for a book. That's something that I never ever do or read. Anyway, so I went and bought it. And I had about like a 12-hour flight. I read the whole thing on the flight. And as I was going through the book, all of a sudden I was planning out my whole life, what I was going to do in the next 5 years, in the next 10 years, how I was going to achieve it, what I was going to do when I go home, how I was going to plan for other plans, what I wanted out of life in general, what my lifestyle was going to look like. So after that, I actually started up a company around property, buying blocks of flats. And I presented to quite a few investors, and I quickly realized that I didn't want investors. I didn't want other people having a say, and it was that control thing again. At some point, I'm going to have to let go of some parts of the control, which I will. But I decided to put that on hold and decided that I needed to make cash myself, and I wanted to do it on my own because I wanted to prove to myself that I could create a business, market the business, create cash, understand how cash flow works, understand how marketing works. So I decided to go online, have a look. I looked at tons of stuff, drop shipping. I looked at affiliate marketing. But the one that really, really stood out for me was Amazon. I felt that if I put some money into it, it meant that I was committed to that specific project and I wouldn't just let it go by. And I'd have to look after it if I felt like there was a physical product involved. But I also felt that I was gaining all of the things that I actually wanted, which was getting my time back. And then I created a plan of creating cash and how much I actually need to start my property business. So within a space of like a month, I started doing all my product research and stuff and launched my first product. From there, that was kind of it.
Nice. Yeah, it's nice. Yeah. Flights does that to you. Yeah.
Yeah, it makes you think.
Many times.
Yeah.
Yeah. It has done a lot of times to me as well. You know, time to think. You know, if you give yourself good time to sit down and think, you can do a lot of things.
Yeah, you can.
That's a proof. That was an interesting story when I heard about it, and that's why I wanted him to say about that. All right, fine, yeah. So both of you, a question for both of you. So you decided, right? You decided that you want to do e-commerce, and did you plunge straight away into the business, or did you phase out like half time here and into your full-time job, and then sometimes spending on your e-commerce job? Did you juggle around, or did you go straight into the job?
I've actually worked for about 3 months, and I created my company in that time and just made plans. And when I finished my contract, I just started full-time, focusing on the Amazon business. In my case, I had a previous relationship with the manufacturer, so I knew exactly this is going to be the first option. They've decided to work with me, and we are also the distributor for that brand in the UK. And Amazon was the main and the first channel to sell on, because it was so easy to set up and just start selling. So the only discussion was what kind of products will start selling. And when I started, we launched 3 or 4 products at that time. And I was mentioning earlier, one of the 3 products is still my best-selling product still, yeah, so it's quite okay. But since that time, I think I launched about 20 different products. So,
How long is that?
sorry?
Like for how long are you doing it?
A year and a half. I started selling in February 2018. So yeah, it's less than 2 years. But because I didn't know exactly how the market will be and what exactly is going to sell, and having access to that range of products, the objective was just to discover exactly what goes better. So not having, obviously, the budget to launch, 10, 20 products once, the plan was to launch each month 1 or 2 products. So since then, like I said, I've got about 20 products with variations. But obviously, like in any other business, it's that rule 20-80. Obviously, I've got 5 products which sell 80% of the total sales. So
you were juggling for 3 months, and then you went on.
And then I went, full time. And I didn't have to look back or, just try to find another job or to start applying. Because I thought, if I want to do this and if I want to make it successful, I have to focus on it. And I started at that time to go to different meetings with Amazon sellers, and I knew there are lots of people who do this as a side activity and they keep their job. But I said I won't be able, because having that experience of 3 months in which I started making plans and doing my research, I realized that I need to put more time and more work if I want to make it successful. So I would have not been able to just have a full-time job and do this in my free time. So it was not a matter of choice. It was just a matter of I'm doing it, and that's it. It's full-time.
You Vik, yourself, you plunged straight into it, or did you juggle with your job?
Well, with the property stuff, I kind of juggled. But I had a 3-month notice period, so as soon as I ordered my product, I quit my job. So I didn't actually have any other income guaranteed or anything like that, if that's what you're thinking.
Did you regret it later, or
Huh?
did you regret it? Or
No, I
was it-
didn't at all. I knew what I was doing. I kind of planned ahead. I had some cash in the bank. I don't regret it at all. It's the best thing I ever did in my life. And I just wanted to, like you said, I wanted to put everything into it. And it does take a lot of time to launch something. But for me, once I launched it, which was September 2017, once I launched it September 2017, luckily it took off and I was fine. So it was okay for me, yeah.
That's fine, yeah. Thank you.
I don't think I'd advise people to quit their jobs.
Of course,
Don't-
of course, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that have been a couple of cases in our group as well where people said, I just quit, but it's not working. Help me.
Yeah.
It's not going to work like that.
Yeah. I think it depends on how much risk you're actually willing to take, and I was willing to take the risk because I fully believe that if worst case scenario, I'd just go and find another job. I was a recruiter who was good at recruiting, so I think I could probably find something, hopefully.
Fine, fantastic. So you decided to go into your full-time job, full-time e-commerce business.
Yeah.
What was your first successful product?
So it was I don't know if I should say it. Eh?
All right, so
No,
let's
it says
not
it.
speak about the first successful
Yeah, no,
product, but what category it was and
Yeah,
how-
so it was in it was in toys and games. I basically just did some product research within the toys and games industry category, and all I did was just increase the amount that I was giving for a better value to the customer, created a slightly different design, and created the listing, and it launched. I didn't do much else other than that. Most of my research was based on sales data and competition, how many people were selling it, looking through the pages and trying to see kind of when it ran out and people stopped selling it and it wasn't really relevant to that specific keyword in the toy category. And I shot to the top of first page for its biggest keyword within, I think it was within a month. And I don't think other sellers liked it because the pricing war started to happen. So yeah.
That's how you looked for the reviews probably, and then you decide, okay, this is missing
Yeah.
this particular.
Yeah, so I looked for low reviews. I looked for kind of medium revenue.
Okay.
Now, thinking about it, it's low revenue. And I just searched for how many results actually came up on the page for its biggest keyword. And I deemed that as competition. And then I check, using Jungle Scout at the time, how much revenue there actually is, and then based on that first page. And then based on that, how many people are actually taking the chunk of that revenue, and is it evenly spread out? Which meant that if I landed on first page, this is the minimum I'm probably going to get, because that's a share of that market on that first page. And that's really what I've based it on. Yeah.
Thank you. Yourself, Daniela, so your first successful product, I know you already had a manufacturer roped in.
Yeah.
And you know what you're going to sell.
Yes.
But how did you validate that this is going to be a good selling product? Because shipping something away from your manufacturer to your place is also as stressful as just finding the product, right? How did you bite the bullet? Okay, let me get this product. How did you decide that?
Obviously, I started doing some research in that niche I sell in, trying to look at competitors, obviously see some data about estimated sales, estimated revenues, and I need to say that products I sell, they are really varies because the price range is different. It can be really cheap or it can be expensive. And I didn't start selling by targeting general keywords from that category, because all the products who target that type of keyword will sell for 10, 12 pounds, 15 pounds. So I was not able to compete with something that cheap. So I had to, first of all, build a strategy around the brand awareness. So by doing that, and by doing obviously advertising for many months, I've learned exactly what are the specific keywords that the brand will trigger, and what kind of keywords will bring sales, and what kind of keywords are differentiate depending on products. So it was a process of about 6 months since I've had enough data to understand exactly what kind of products should I focus on in the future, and how the launching strategies should be for each product when I bring a new one.
So it's based on experimenting.
Yes, absolutely. Because I didn't put all the money on 1 or 2 products, because I had the possibility to launch different items. They picked up at some point after a few months, and then you get reviews. You understand that people are happy, customers are happy or are not happy, because I can say I've had a big failure with a very expensive product. So starting from that moment on, you get to feel and understand the market you're selling in, and you start understanding and learning what are the expectations of your customers. So I think that's going to be specific for each category.
Yeah,
That's my learning so far.
that's a good point. Sales is one thing,
Yeah,
but how customers receive it is another thing, right?
absolutely.
That defines the future sales of it. So it's a good point in that. Okay. And how much did you bet? How much did you invest in the first?
I put
few
in,
months, yeah.
yeah, it was just under 3,000, I think.
Okay.
I think it was actually £2,666.
All right. Okay. I believe in that. And how was your
I started with about $10,000 or $12,000.
That's in one big lump? Or
Yes,
okay.
yes,
Because
exactly.
it's a manufacturer that
Yes,
you-
exactly. And you can't just order, 50 pieces.
That's such a big risky investment. How did you make sure that your investment is going to come back?
I didn't think at the time it's going to be that risky, because I said, okay, it's not going to work, but I will sell and just get the money back, or I will sell it on eBay, or I will find a solution. I never thought it's going to be a failure. When I started, the idea was it's going to work, and that's it. And I need to say something about this, because I wanted to mention about it earlier. When you have a full-time job and you do this as a side activity, you don't focus enough. But when you do it as a full-time activity, you have to put all the efforts and you have to bet all your money on it, because you have to make it work. Okay, in the worst case scenario, you're gonna go and just find another job, and you will recover your losses, partially or totally. But I think it's really important, it was really important that, at least in my case, doing this full time, I was able to focus and try to find solutions. And I never worked in this and started this activity thinking that it's going to fail,
That's brilliant. That's a great perspective to go fully focused into something. Yeah.
I didn't have expectations from the beginning that I'm going to make profits in 6 months or a year. No way. But every month when you see your sales increasing, it gives you that positive feeling that you are going into the right direction. So I think this is the best thing that can happen, And if you are really focused, it will be successful.
So you have traveled, 2 years now? 2 years? 2 years into this?
Yeah, I'm about 2 years into it.
About 2 years, right?
Yeah.
So if you have to advise one thing to your own beginner self, what would that be? What would you have done differently?
What would I have done differently?
Yeah.
um, launch more products faster. But I don't think I would have changed anything, in all honesty, because I would have done it the exact same way as I did it. And
Good job yourself.
yeah, I know. Pat on the back, huh? I don't think I would have changed anything because I so believed in myself. And if it fails, it fails. I do calculated risks. I mean, I do deem myself as a risk taker, but I know people who are much bigger risk takers. But I like to take calculated risks, and I think most people do take calculated risks. Once you have all of the information, the next step is just to do it. And that's all that happened for me at that time when I actually launched. So I don't think I would have done anything differently. If anything, I was to give any advice to myself, it would have been just continue educating yourself more and more and more, experimenting more and more and more with PPC and marketing and other bits and bobs, and possibly taking a small portion of specific products that I think might work and giving them a test in the market to see if they would work, and how customers would respond and see what happens from there.
Thank you. And yourself, Daniela? What would you have told to your own self back in 2007?
One thing I didn't know, and it would have been useful to know from that moment, how much money is going to be needed for this adventure, Amazon selling. That's probably the thing I would have thought better from the beginning and try to maybe find solutions earlier in order to buy more stock and not get out of stock with different products, which at that time seemed to be successful. I think that's the main thing. Proper planning for for stock and for financial resources.
Fantastic. All right, let's start speaking about.
Can I just ask a quick question? How much cash is in your business currently? Like, how leveraged are you?
I recently had this conversation with my guy. We've got stocks now of around £60,000, and it's not enough.
No, would you say that's your limiting factor, cash?
Yeah, the main one.
If you had like 100 grand, you could scale quicker?
Most probably, yes. But only for probably 3 or 6 months, and then you reach another ceiling, and then you realize you need, if I would have now, I don't know, 50, 100,000, it would be so much better. Yeah, so cash, at least from my experience, is the main problem. And for startup, obviously, you don't have access to many options in terms of finding financial sources. I mean, we've just did our first annual return, annual account. So from this moment on, I can have a conversation with a bank or with a financial institution and say, look, this is our numbers, and if you can help us or not. So it was difficult, and it still is from that perspective. But this is one of the options available, and there are some others on the market.
Okay, fine. Yeah, but back to the Q4 business here.
Yeah.
Did you want me to answer that as well?
Oh,
You're just
yeah.
staring at me.
Right, go for it. Vik.
Because you have a different business model, right? Slightly.
Probably. I'm not sure. I don't know the ins and outs of your business. So I'm about 30,000. So about half of what you got. Was there another part to your question? No.
I was just wondering, your business models are very different.
Yeah.
And cash is like lifeblood, but your margins are
So,
much better. That's what I would say, because it's a private label.
I don't know. That's because I don't know what your margins are. But I run another business as well, which runs alongside of it, which I'm working on at the moment, and I'm putting money into that as well at the same time.
Right.
Hence, I haven't expanded massively or grown massively. I did come to a juncture where I had about 20 to 30 grand, and I was ready to launch another 10 products that I was very confident would work based on numbers. And it's all biodegradable type stuff, the eco-friendly type stuff. But I chose to learn about marketing the second business first, and then using all of that knowledge into my Amazon business of marketing
Right.
my products, essentially. So yeah. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, yeah. Got it.
Thank you. All right, about the Q4 thing, coming back to it. Vik, you have a beautiful story of launching during the Christmas season itself.
Yeah, I don't know if it's a beautiful story.
That's why I say it's beautiful.
Yeah.
Go ahead. What was your challenge?
So, because I ranked so fast with my first product, by the way, that doesn't always happen. Just be very realistic with you. I ranked quite quickly, and I ran out of stock very fast. So within 2 months, I ran out of stock. And for me, it takes about 3 months to get something in stock. Now, when I looked at managing the inventory and when I actually realized that I was running out of stock, and I stopped being so happy about how well I was doing, and realized the reality of selling on Amazon, and thought, shit, I'm about to lose out on money if I don't order this stock right now. So I ordered as fast as I could and doubled the amount of units. That whole amount was going to sell within the space of, it should have been done within a month and a half. And it was meant to arrive within November. It didn't arrive in November because of backlogs of ships and Amazon stock coming in, and so much stuff happening during that period that I learned a big lesson. And it came into stock after Christmas had ended. And that's when, for the product that I had, the gift product, the toy product, it just didn't work, and it was just dead stock sitting there. Nothing was moving. I was still selling units, but not in the volume that I was selling it before. And I did everything. I increased the price. I doubled the price, and it was still shifting. So there was nothing I could really do. I stopped PPC campaigns, tried so many different things to slow down the stock going out. But yeah, it just wasn't happening. And I missed out on anything between 15 to 20 grand's worth of income within the space of 30 days. And then I had stock left over, and I had to drop the price massively, sit with it in Amazon, take a hit on the Amazon storage fees, and eventually drop the price of the product and just sell it as fast as I could. And then we had a price war, and then the prices didn't change, and then I decided to get out of that product. It's good to know when you cut your losses. But for that Christmas period, I was done for. And I didn't realize how much activity actually happens during that period and how many people are actually last minute like me. So it's really important to plan well in advance and to order enough, order the right amount of stock, in my opinion. Yeah, that was like, I really, I don't regret it, but I missed out on about 15 to 20 grand. That's a lot of money for me.
Stock planning, that's very, very important.
Yeah.
Yeah, but with stock planning comes the cash flow as well, right?
Yeah, there is the cash flow issue, but I was okay with cash flow. I saved up a lot of money so I could go and do this. And I knew it would eat into my money, so I was okay with that. But I would rather be out of stock than overstocked, personally. Yeah.
It's a great piece of advice that everybody gives away.
Do people say the same thing?
Yeah, same thing.
Yeah, right, yeah.
Right, nice. And yourself, Daniela, you started, it's just 1 year plus, and your sales is already 200K euros, if I'm right, 200 roughly? Yeah.
It's more this year.
How much of that would you attribute to the Christmas season?
So I would say November, December, and January are probably, or they were the best months for us in the first year, and that accounted for about 40%.
About 40%.
Yes. But obviously, I've had the same issues with out of stock, with delays in sending the products into Amazon warehouses. I lost, Amazon actually lost shipment at some point in October. So yeah, I guess the first year it's tough for everybody because you don't know exactly what's going to happen. You don't know how your relationship with your manufacturer is going to be. And because of that, obviously, this year we are planning ahead and everything has to be in Amazon early October. So none of the things that happened last year should happen this year again. So we've already discussed with our manufacturer. We know exactly what we want to order, in what quantities, how much is going to cost, how much is going to take to be shipped in the UK. So yeah, I think considering the experience from last year, this year should be better.
All right, so that takes me to the next question there. So do you use any tools to see how much stock you want for this year?
Yes, the good old Excel. That's the main tool. So, yeah, based on previous months, based on seasonality, because products I sell better during autumn and winter. So this is something that I need to consider when ordering new stock. Yeah, so at least so far Excel worked very well, and I didn't have any problem, any issues or surprises.
All right, and yourself, Vik, how do you see your sales? Do you have any particular method of expecting how much stock you want?
Yeah. So first, I use my previous sales. I'll look at a specific month, depending on what time of year I'm actually in. I'll look at 3 months, 6 months, or whatever it is. If sales have grown within the last few weeks, I'll look at the last week and see how that's done, and possibly find a number in between there. What I also do is I check Google Trends to see where the index is actually showing on that specific search for my product, to see if the index is saying, and they base it on an index because they can't show you the actual search results, but you can actually get that data from places. But I basically, so for example, if it said that the index for bottles was 20, but then in December the index shows 40, I can start to get an estimate of, okay, I need to order more than what I usually order at least. Might not be double because it's an index. You can't actually see how much you actually need. But then that's when I go in to check all of my competitors who are similar to me or who are the top sellers within the field to see what happens with their sales trends. And I also check to see if they've changed prices, to see if any other factors has actually made the change in sales, because there could be a part where they've halved their price and then their sales suddenly increase. Well, then you've looked at the wrong data. If the price hasn't changed and then over the Christmas period my competitor has doubled his sales or her sales, then I start to get an indication, okay, I need to order at least double for the Christmas period because they're doing that. But I won't just check one, I'll check as many as I can possibly check, so I'm pretty confident that, okay, everybody's getting at least double sales. I need to order at least double sales. And then I start the conversation with my supplier to have that. And that's the data that I use. I make sure data is kind of king to me. It takes risk away from me. I can't pick numbers out of thin air. So whatever data I can get my hands on, I'll get my hands on that and make a decision based off of that data. Yeah.
That's very important to know.
Yeah.
Without data, this business cannot go. And it's such a good digital age where we can look through the data rather than just to put something in a thin area.
Yeah.
Yeah, pretty nice, pretty nice. And you need stock. You know, you're ordering ahead to be available in October.
Mm-hmm.
But how is the cash flow for you? You spend a lot now, but how are you balancing between you need to put a lot of money in and you get the stock, right? Do you go for any credit lines, or do you manage with your own personal money?
For now, I'm gonna manage this Q4 with personal investment, at least for now. Because like I said, I've already had a conversation in terms of what stock needs to be ordered and how much is going to cost. So I know already exactly how much is going to be and what is the need for the next 3 or 4 months. Depending on the results and the sales and how much will pick up, I'll have to plan ahead again. And depending on that, I'll have to look for a credit line or something like this. But this is a conversation that I've already started with different providers. So the moment I will need it, I will have to just sign some papers and that's it. Yeah.
Okay, how much? How about you, Vik? Your cash flow is stable.
Yeah, my cash flow is pretty stable at the moment.
You're a data guy, right?
Yeah, well, I saved up a lot of money before I left for this specific reason and for my survival, so I could eat. But I opened up tons of credit lines as I was going as well. So because I have a decent credit score and my business was doing well, I just opened up a credit card here. They gave me there's 10,000 credit available there. If I need it, I can just pull it tomorrow if I need to. So if all of a sudden I launch a product and it spikes, I have credit available. And there's loads of credit card companies and people who will do that for you, but you've got to be confident in doing that if you're actually about to go down that route. And I would only take that route if I know something's actually exploding and I want to back it like an investment. I'd pull it straight out of the credit card or a loan or whatever I need to do and put it straight in there. So I have a bunch of credit cards available for me.
All right, yeah, okay, fine, yeah, nice to learn from there. Yeah, I think we talked about that. That's a question about what made your company successful, or do you consider it successful yet? How do you see your company?
Other people, so I've talked to other people, they say it's successful. I wouldn't say it's successful. I don't deem it successful yet. I have very high expectations and people say I'm very hard on myself. I think it's very dependent on you as a person. I don't like to celebrate too early for things. Until I hit my goals, I won't celebrate. So in the grand scheme of things, yes, it's doing well. I've generated income, I've generated a profit. If I wanted to pull out cash, I could, but I just generally cycle it into the products continuously. But I wouldn't say I'm there yet. I think there's a long, long way to go. There's some huge, huge sellers out there and they're doing extremely well. And I've even heard them say they're still not even there where they want to be. And I think I'm slightly in a similar mind frame to them. And I think we've got a few sitting in this room as well. So I wouldn't say it's successful. I would definitely say that I'm achieving the things that I want to achieve. Probably not at the time that I want to achieve them, but I'm taking action on the things that I want to take action on. And if that means stepping outside of comfort zones to do it, I do it.
That's nice, that's nice.
Yeah.
That's a nice way to put it through, yeah, thank you. Great. How about you, Daniela? I'm sure you have achieved what you wanted to achieve. You are out of your workplace and you are looking after your kid. You have a good work-life balance. I could consider that as a success itself, right? For both of you together. So, what do you think has made you successful in this perspective?
That's what I wanted to say. It depends how you define success and how you define a successful business. I won't be able to say that after a year and a half or almost 2 years, my business is successful. It's a long way and loads of things that need to be done. And because of that, I set objectives, and depending on how well I reach those objectives, I can say, yes, I reached this and that. But I can't say it's still successful. Okay, maybe in terms of figures, it can be, I don't know, impressive or not. but I think the most important aspect is to be consistent and to work every day as hard as you can, because everything goes still back into the business. I know I've heard sellers saying that they wait for that moment when they will sell and they will have their biggest payday. I don't want to think about that. I just want to think that my strategy has to be growing in an efficient way, growing in such a way that I can sustain the activity. And at some point it's going to become successful. I have no doubt about that, but I'm absolutely sure it's going to be a long way and a lot of work and hard work in the middle. So, yeah, these are my thoughts.
Can I add to that? Yeah, so you said achieving the lifestyle that you want is success, and that is part of my success. But when I actually quit my job, I achieved that because I had the time that I wanted, right? But then that sets you up with a whole new set of challenges, massive set of challenges. So I come from a big company. There were thousands of and hundreds of thousands of people around me all the time. Because I was a recruiter, I used to talk to people every day, all the time. And then going to your office or your room or your co-working, well, not the co-working space at the time, but when you're working on your own, that's when the challenges actually start, because you start talking to yourself a lot. And then you have to deal with, am I actually lonely or am I going into depression? No, you're just alone. You need to go meet some people. And then you have all these little things. Then you've got to discipline yourself, and you've got to be consistent at what you do. You've got to find your own routine. You've got to find your whole new life. And that's a big challenge in itself, and everyone has their own version of that. So although success is deemed as getting my time back, which I'm very happy with, by the way, but it sets you up with a whole new set of challenges. And but I'm glad. I'd rather take these challenges on than dealing with politics at work. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Is there anything else you want to add?
That's very good. Thank you so much, both of you. And what are your long-term plans with this particular business?
So Amazon for me actually doesn't take much time because I'm not growing it massively at the moment. If I was, it would take all of my time. But I want to get Amazon to a stage where it's making enough money where I can let it run in the background, have some people kind of running the marketing side of it, talking to my suppliers whenever stock's needed, etc. So it kind of runs and I just kind of overlook it, or I get in a position where I can sell it as a business and start another one up, or start multiple Amazon businesses up. But I do want to keep it running in the background because it does generate income. I never ever stop income if it's actually doing well or creating a profit. This is a bit silly, unless it's taken up so much time and I have another income stream that takes up less time and earns more money. But in terms of the long-term goal, for me it's about taking enough cash out of it so I can start this property venture that I want to start, which has been kind of a passion of mine. So it's kind of like a route to start my passion project. Yeah.
Thank you. And yourself, Daniela, what's your long-term plans? I know you are going to be very consistent with this particular business. Which I like.
Yes. I'm pretty hands-on type of person, so I don't think I will be able to just hire some people and, like you said, just overlook and let it run behind the scene. My plan is to grow, obviously, as much as possible. Like I said, my company is a distributor for the brand. Probably the objective is to become the biggest seller in Europe for this brand, which I think it's quite achievable in a few years' time. And obviously at some point try to develop an alternative sales channel on top of the existing Amazon account I have. But yeah, I think the main objective is to become the biggest seller in Europe, if possible, because I have all the confidence that the product we sell are very good quality products, and I know the market. It still has a lot of potential from that perspective, and there are lots of opportunities to sell.
Great.
Yeah.
So just to give some context to others, so you're mainly operating in Germany? Abroad?
I sell in Europe, UK, Germany, France, Spain, and Italy. Biggest market is Germany, and the second one is the UK, and the others are smaller, not that significant. But that's why I'm saying I think there are lots of possibilities to promote the brand here in the UK. For the positioning and for the features and the benefits, I think it's a lot of room for improvement and for growing sales. So I'm quite optimistic about this.
Thank you. And just to give some context to others, so you are mainly operating in the US, right?
Yes, I started off in the UK, expanded to Europe, then went to US, then shut down whatever I was doing in Europe to expand in the US, and now I'm only in the US. Yeah.
Do you have plans to expand to any other markets?
Not at the moment. The plans are to add more products and add new marketing strategies, so Amazon doesn't have full control of my marketing. And possibly, depending on what the products are and what the brand is looking like, open up a website that I can recycle, capture people's email addresses so I can continue selling to existing customers.
Good luck with that. Good luck with that, Daniela. Thank you
Thanks.
so much. Yeah. All right. Thank you for listening. And if there are any questions, please ask them. And I would like to ask you that please keep it very precise and non-contextual questions. If you have any conversations to do, please keep it for later. Yeah. Thank you. Over to you guys. Yeah.
Are you just leaving?
Any questions at all? All of them?
Okay, I've got a question. Both of you seem to be very well, okay. What plans do you have in place for scaling the company?
So for me, it's if my second business is generating income, I'm going to take a portion of that income and put it into new products that I can go and test and expand. Is that what you mean?
Yeah, okay.
Or did you mean something different?
I'm just thinking of a challenge we came across, probably, I think in our second or third year, that we had the opportunity to scale up, obviously timing has changed a lot, the market's changed a lot in the last 3 years, and one of the challenges we found was being British, just don't have access to cash. We had colleagues from America who could raise hundreds of thousands, if not millions, relatively easy.
Yeah.
But as a Brit, try to go to a bank.
Yeah.
You do what? Forget it.
Yeah.
Amazon has come to our rescue more time than anyone. It gets to the point where we've had to drop several products purely because of scalability.
Yeah.
There are very successful profitable products we've just got to drop them. I'm just wondering what you've got in place for that, because it's going to happen. And
The only thing I can think of is I do have some people in family and friends. If I show them proof and give them a share, there may be something there, but in all honesty, I haven't given that the thought. So when I get there, I'll give you a call.
Sunday dinner.
They're only for me.
I want to ask you, why did you top only European stuff and only sell in the US? Was it so much more effective?
No, I just found that I personally found it easier to find products in the US than in the UK, and I find that a lot of other people that I've spoken to do too.
Because it's so much you can go into a much smaller niche or
The market's just tiny in comparison to the US, like minuscule in comparison to the US. It's much bigger in the US. Yeah, it's massive. which means that there's more products. And then I went into other thought patterns as well, but the fact is it just came down to the size of the market meant that it was easier for me to find product opportunities. And at the same time, in line with that, any tools that I needed, most people had them provided for mainly the US rather than the UK. They kind of go to US first and then eventually come to the UK and then the rest of Europe. But the main reason is because the market is just bigger. Yeah. You wanted to answer that question about?
Yes, about your first question, my specific plan to scale is to launch a private label as soon as possible. I've already started the work, and I'm in that process of contacting potential manufacturers and getting samples and that kind of phase, which I believe is going to be good in terms of growing, because the margin I'm expecting to be higher than the products I sell for the moment. And the second question.
Where are you going to get the money from?
Yeah, I will still use the money I get from Amazon, from current sales, and probably personal sources, credit cards and things like that, until I will find a sustainable solution. Yeah, I hope it answers your question. Yes, please.
This can sound like a really stupid dumb question, but I'll ask anyway. You two mentioned, especially Vic mentioned earlier about marketing on Amazon, and obviously having it to the point where it's almost an autopilot, if that's safe to say. What do you two do to market your wares on Amazon? So those guys just in particular, how do you sales market Amazon? And how could you get it to the point where it's almost like on autopilot, you know, where it's like ticking off the back end so you can move on to something else? So that really resonated with me. So, yeah, that's my question.
In my case, I don't deal with the advertising and the PPC on Amazon platform. My partner does that. And from our experience so far, I can't say it's something that obviously you start with the automatic PPC and you get to learn what kind of keywords will trigger sales, and then you start doing the manual advertising. We've tried at some point last year to do some Facebook advertising. We spent loads of money. It didn't work. So we stopped. Now, the recent months, we've increased the budget for Amazon advertising. I can't say it's running on its own. Once every 2 or 3 months, you must have a review and see exactly what kind of keywords take too much money and don't give you sales, and do this exercise, like I said, 2 or 3 months, because at some point you will start spending money and don't see the sales coming. Yeah. But it's we don't use any tools. It's just a matter of experience and just learning a lot about the products, the market, and customers. I think that's really important when you start selling on Amazon.
So it's basically organic growth and looking at what the customer wants and trying
Yeah.
to guess what they...
Yeah, I think so, yeah. But from experience, I can say if you really want to grow, you will have to put some money in this advertising business, because otherwise, how you will be noticed?
Yeah.
Because there are tons of sellers, which in the end sell the same thing.
No, sure.
So you have to somehow make yourself noticed to stand out. So in the end, it's a matter of budget and being consistent.
I'm going to answer your question in like 2 parts. I'm assuming you're asking that question because that's kind of what you want. You want something to tick along in the background. Is that right?
Ultimately, yeah.
Yeah.
I'd like to put in the groundwork for now.
Yeah.
But later on,
Yeah.
I've got things I want to do as well,
Okay.
and I don't want it to be another job, if you get my drift.
Yeah.
You know.
All right. Don't get it wrong. There's sometimes it will be another job, and you will have to put work into it. It is hard work. You have to put it in. You have to learn. But you can get it to a place if you want to. It depends on how you run it. But you can get it to a place where it's on autopilot. So that my Amazon business is running on autopilot at the moment. I don't do too much other than restock and manage PPC. The PPC that I manage is only like 20 minutes on a Monday, unless I've made a significant change to my PPC. So if I've upped the budget to $50 a day or $100 a day or whatever, I've doubled it, tripled it to experiment. I have to monitor it every day because I don't want the money to be wasted. But once I get it to a place where it's almost all profitable, that specific PPC campaign, I'll leave it alone to run on a weekly basis, dependent on its budget and how often it changes. But that generally, yeah, once it's kind of running or I'm running out of stock, there's not much for me to do. I kind of let it run for the week, and then on a Monday I'll spend like 20 minutes just doing up and down, putting bids up, putting bids down, etc., etc. But there is work involved, but I think it's dependent on how you end up running the business and how, if you want to expand it or what. But if you want to run something else beside it afterwards, there's always a way.
Oh no, of course, definitely.
Yeah.
No, you have to think the groundwork at the beginning. It's not a business in the box. You leave it and you'll get grand per month out there.
Yeah.
You have to put in the work.
Yeah, yeah.
But I was curious because how you did it and how you're doing it. And I thought, well, you know, it's possible because you're doing it. So yeah, that's what I was curious.
Yeah, I mean, at the moment, I just don't want you to get the wrong idea.
Oh no, definitely no, it's not a walk in the park.
Yeah, but at the moment, I spend 20 minutes on a Monday looking at it. That's the max that I look at it, unless I'm reordering stock.
Yeah.
Do you drive traffic from external sources to your listings?
Not at the moment. I have tried some Facebook ads and stuff, but Facebook ads is a beast in itself. You have to learn it or find an expert who knows what they're doing, and Facebook changes so fast, the ads side of it. You need to keep up with it. So I haven't personally, but I do want to do that in the future, hence why all my experiments are in my second business at the moment. And then once those prove that they're doing well and they work and I know how to use it properly, or I've got somebody who knows how to use it properly, I'll test it out onto all of my products.
I want to add one thing to your previous question. And I had this conversation with a few other sellers with lots of experience in PPC. My personal opinion is that PPC advertising is something that you should keep in-house, let's say, sort of speaking, if you have just a handful of products, because it's something that you can manage yourself, even if you put 10 minutes once a week or a few hours every month. Probably at some point after a certain number of products, you will probably need help using a tool or some specialized agency. But to a certain number of products, it's better to just keep it in-house, because you are the one who learns about the product and the behavior and the customers, and you will be the one able to understand exactly what needs to be done. When you will outsource this service to an agency, they will just do it in an automatic system and just try to spend your budgets, and that's it.
Oh, yeah.
And this is the conversation I had with somebody who runs a PPC agency. So at least for a while, we will keep this in-house. And the second question, I think I mentioned earlier, the traffic, the external traffic. We've had a bad experience with Facebook, so
But
after...
like no blog, no... What's the passion for the product? You just put it on Amazon and then you drive some PPC
This
and
is,
then it's generically...
This has worked, at least for my products, advertising on Amazon. I'm sure sales would increase if I would use Facebook ads or something else. I'm absolutely sure, but it's just a matter of time and somebody who should deal with that type of task. And you can only do a certain number of things every day. So, yes.
Hi, yes. During product launches, I think it's a common strategy which is preached out there that when you sell your first product, you do some giveaways or you reduce the prices of your products just so you can get those visibility and sales. When you were launching your products, did you do something similar or did you just depend on PPC?
I don't have a massive launch strategy. I did giveaways at the start because that's what YouTube taught me. But I now don't do anything that Amazon doesn't like because they can quickly take your listing down, ban you, blah, 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 your business is done for. So I don't take that risk. I don't want to take that risk. Others may say it's fine line, blah, 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 blah. I like to add value and give value to the customer. So I will do my research as hard as I can, not just on Amazon, but in other forums on the internet where people talk about that specific product and will say, oh, I prefer it like this, or I want it like this, or that's wrong with that product. I bought this the other day, it was shit, this is what I think it should be. And give the customer what they want for the price that they want it, as long as it's profitable for me. So whenever I launch a product, it's just PPC. I put it in front of people. The PPC is not going to be profitable for me initially for a while. It's just to get the product ranked and moving. And then when people see that it's got that it's value to them, and that the images are selling, and then the click-through rates are great, and the conversions are great, Amazon starts to rank it really well. Yeah, that's how I generally launch products. I monitor the numbers. I don't do giveaways. I don't go into review groups or anything like that. All of my stuff is generally organic using PPC. But I base it mostly on that I've added huge value to the customer and giving them what they actually want. Yeah. Did you want to add?
Just wanted to say that I've never done any giveaways. I've always relied on PPC from the beginning. And due to the nature of the products I sell, I would never play with discounts or anything like that because the margin is not that high. So even if I give 20%, that's going to eat everything. So I prefer to do heavily PPC. So that's it. Even if, like you said, for a few months it's not going to be profitable, but that's going to help ranking the product.
And giveaways will, if you actually calculate it, giveaways will cost you more money than actually putting it into PPC.
Yeah, probably.
I always found that putting the money into PPC rather than actually giving the product away is cheaper.
What about the initial reviews then?
I let it come organically.
So you turn on the PPC, you will have a review.
Yeah.
Yeah, I let my
Absolutely.
email follow-up do the rest of the work. Tends to work.
Yeah, okay.
For now, anyway. Until I have to find another solution.
Could you guys talk about the tools and strategies you guys have for research?
Tools and strategy for product research.
Product research. Like I said, I've just recently started this process in order to launch in a few months a private label. But also when I started selling the products I already sell, I think it's really important to understand the niche you want to sell on, research your competitors, purchase from your competitors and see exactly what kind of communications they have, what kind of messages, do a deep dive into their listings and understand exactly what kind of keywords they use and on what they are ranking on. If you want specific tools, I've always used Helium 10 to get any kind of data. It worked well for me. It's quite expensive. I didn't use it from the beginning. When I started, I used all sorts of free tools, which are not necessarily relevant. I'm not saying that helium-10 is 100% relevant, but at least it's somewhere. And lots of big sellers on Amazon recommend it. So until something else better comes up, it's good enough.
Yeah, pretty much the same. I use helium-10. I used to use Jungle Scout. I moved over to helium-10. There's just a lot more on there in one place. And then your question was around product research. There's a million things I could go into for product research. If I was going to give one general thing, high demand, low competition is in every sense on every part of that, what I'm saying. So in keyword research, in the product research, in the actual product itself, high demand, low competition is always what I'm generally aiming for. And low competition doesn't necessarily mean that there's only 20 sellers or 30 sellers or whatever. It could mean that nobody's offering the new version of the product, your improved version of the product that people have in the past complained about, if that makes sense. Yeah.
Product research is on helium-10 as well.
Yeah. I use Google Trends as well.
And for somebody who's just starting out, what's a reasonable amount of time to go from start to listing? I mean, if you're risk averse and you want to do research and do research and do research, what's a reasonable amount of time? I know it depends on whether
You know what I'm going to say.
But I mean, for example, how long would you spend from start to finish?
I can only tell you what my experience is. I can't give what it might be for you. It took me 3 months because that's how long it takes to order, negotiate, and get a product. My 5th product, I product researched and bought in 5 days flat. That was a risk, a level of risk, but I was pretty sure that I knew what I was doing at the time, and it paid off. So it is dependent on you, as you know.
Well, your first one was 3 months.
But yeah, if you're brand new, I'd say anything from 4 to 6 months. But if you procrastinate, you might take 2 years. I don't know. It's up to you, really.
I could also add that even if you spend 2 weeks or 3 months, I think the best thing you can do if you are really wanted to start this journey on selling on Amazon, you just have to do it, because no matter what, if you spend 2 weeks or 3 months, you will still learn loads of things while you are selling on Amazon, because even if you do your homework or listen to all sorts of online training and people, everybody has their own journey, and it's different depending on the product you sell, depending on the niche you sell, depending on loads of factors. So my advice is just do it, and you will have to deal with it as long as it's not a very big risk for you in terms of financial
I'd say the exact
terms.
same thing. The fact that you asked that question means you're procrastinating. Like I spot my own, I sit there, I spot my own procrastination things, so I can now start to spot other people's. That's a procrastination question.
Just to put in perspective, just to know how many SKUs you are currently running in your portfolio, and you mentioned the category, if you can share. In which category?
I started with sports and outdoors, but I also have loads of products now in tools, DIY and tools.
And how many SKUs?
Around 20 without variations. With variations are 40 something.
Well, that helps to
Yeah.
So I've only got 2 SKUs at the moment. Did you ask about categories as well?
I think you mentioned toys, probably, no?
That was the first one. That was in
Okay.
toys. I've been in home and kitchen.
Okay.
I've also been in gardening and outdoor as well.
Okay.
How did you choose your niche? How did you know that was the niche you wanted to go into?
So you mean the product
No,
itself?
for example, if you decide to sell in, I don't know, pets products, okay, you found your database just focus on pest products and not selling in other niches?
Oh, I didn't do that. I just eliminated products that, in my opinion, were products that had a high rate of return. So for me, that was electronics. I just left it out. And also it would need a higher level of inspection, in my opinion. So, but I've never done it. I never experienced it, so I don't actually know. So I just picked stuff that was easy to buy off of Alibaba. So all the other categories, I left out glass, anything that was huge or big. Just the general stuff. I don't buy stuff that goes in or creams that rub on people or their babies or pets.
And would you recommend to beginners to start directly with a niche or start different products from different niches and then see what works best?
But I'd say eliminate the word niche from your vocabulary, in my opinion, and just find a product that's profitable that customers want.
Yeah, I know, but there's thousands of products, so that's...
So it doesn't matter what category you go into. Yeah, I wouldn't fuss and fight over that.
I didn't choose the niche in itself because of the relationship I had with the manufacturer. I just identified where exactly would that fit better. That's why I started with sports and outdoors, but then I realized it's very competitive and products have slowly moved to tools and DIY where it's not that competitive and they fit more with that category.
This is a question.
Yes, hi. Specifically for you, Vik. So you said you moved from the EU to the US. Did you take your existing products as well? Did you find them successful, or did you launch entirely new products?
Entirely. Sorry, go on.
Yeah, I'm sorry. The second part was: is there a good time to actually expand into the US? Like, for instance, Q4, because there's more people buying stuff. No experience, or?
So there's no specific time or anything that you should start and expand into anything. If you can expand and you know what you're doing, just go for it. Just expand. And I didn't take my first product into the US. I did the product research on my product in the US, and it wasn't doing well. It wasn't a thing there. That game wasn't a thing in the US anyway, so yeah, it didn't make a difference.
So it's specifically the EU. It was doing well here, but it wouldn't have sold in the US.
No, I wouldn't. I highly doubt it would have done any well in the US at all.